Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency, Bishop Fulton J. Sheen.
My dear friends, no doubt many of you are wondering tonight what I'm doing here. Since this is the Friars Club, philanthropic organization dedicated to many works of charity, humanitarian causes, it was suggested that the proceedings be opened by a personality whose presence would create a spiritual and moral atmosphere. Unfortunately, Danny Thomas couldn't make it. I can't tell you how proud I am to be taking part in this tribute to Uncle Milty from Uncle Fulty. Many of you will probably recall that in the early days of television, Milton and I were on at the same time, but on opposing networks. And the only time that Milton and I ever discussed our programs, he said, "I'm going to use a blackboard and an angel." He said, "I can do anything you can do." I said, "No, you can't, Milton. I can kiss your wife, but you can't kiss mine." Milton has always been accused of stealing jokes, but he was always something of a Robin Hood. He stole from the rich comedians and gave them to poor audiences who had to listen to him. But Milton never stole anything from my writers, and I always thought it very queer, because I had 4 Jewish boys, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Milton, you've always played the role of a clown for many years. Laughter is your glory, Milton, and anyone who is full of life enjoys laughter. Child is full of life. You do a trick for a child, and the child will say, "Do it again." God is full of life. Each morning he says to the sun, "Do it again." And each night he says to the moon and stars, "Do it again." And because, Milton, we, your audience, are vibrant with life, we say to you, Milton, year after year, do it again, do it again. And now it's time to turn the show over to our master of ceremonies for the evening. Before I introduce Mr. Alan King, I would like to commend him for giving his time and energy to doing countless benefit shows to raise funds for organizations of practically every faith. During his career, he has helped many hundreds of synagogues and churches of every denomination. Ladies and gentlemen, a very funny man, and possibly a religious fanatic, historian of the Friars, Mr. Alan King.
Thank you, Bishop Sheen, ladies and gentlemen. This is the man that we are honoring tonight. It should give you an idea how low Kraft and the Friars will stoop to fill 1 hour of television. When I was a boy, I had 2 idols, Milton Berle and John Dillinger. Why they shot John and let this bum... I speak only the truth. This man has been called Mr. Show Business, Mr. Entertainment, Mr. Television. Of course, it's a little embarrassing when he tries to check into a hotel that way. He was also known as Mr. Tuesday Night. His wife still calls him that. Sit down. I'm not finished. Sit down. Only thing missing was a little drum rum.
She calls me Mr. Wednesday Night.
Those of you, the viewing audience who are not familiar with the long tradition of the Friars roast should know that we only attack someone that we love. Tonight, this long tradition will be broken. From this distinguished gathering will come nothing but the truth. Milton, this is Judgment Day. As historian of the Friars, I should like to discuss the highlights of Milton Berle's career. Milton Berle's biography is about as exciting as a rerun of Jackpot Bowling. You all remember that highlight of his career. Milton Berle came into this world on the 12th of July, 1908 in New York City. He was the fourth of 5 children, immediately destined to become a star. He was even born next to closing. At the age of 5, he made his film debut at the Biograph Studios as the baby that Marie Dressler abandoned in Tilly's Punctured Romance. The same child who, in The Perils of Pauline, was tossed from a moving train by Pearl White, which will give you an idea of what they thought about him in those days. But Milton Berle got even with the motion picture industry. In 1948, Milton Berle's career reached unparalleled heights. The advent of television. This man was responsible for emptying the nation's theaters, clearing the city streets as millions rushed home on Tuesday night to tune in Uncle Milty. Because she had a big choice. It's a great pleasure for me to act as Toastmaster tonight. And I should like to quote the Television Academy of Arts and Sciences when they honored Milton with this well-earned tribute. The industry honors the man who made the industry, Milton Berle. Oh, will you sit down already? It is only fitting and proper that we start this evening's festivities by presenting a man who is one of Milton's oldest friends. A man who has become a legend in his own lifetime. A man whose style of comedy enables him to turn a phrase and a stomach at the same time. A man whose mother-in-law taught the Mau-Maus how to fight dirty. A man who is known as that masterful purveyor of the one-liner. In introducing him, I'd like to paraphrase one of his own jokes. Ladies and gentlemen, take Henny Youngman. Please.
May I just say one thing?
Yes?
I'd rather see the Mets tonight.
Alan, your introduction was so beautiful. When I go to Israel, in your honor, I will have a tree uprooted. Good evening, ladies and wife. I want to say I'm very happy to be part of this tribute to Milton Berle. And speaking of Milton, I've got the neatest mother-in-law in the world. She puts paper under the cuckoo clock. My mother-in-law has a parrot that weighs 400 pounds. The parrot says, Polly wants a cracker. Now! She once crossed a gorilla with a head waiter. I don't know what she got, but when he brings you food, you better tip him. Little old lady walks in the doctor's office, says, get undressed. Little old lady walks into a doctor's office.
Alan, excuse me. This touching tribute to Milton, I gotta go backstage and cry a little.
We'll cry when you're out. This little old lady was just a little bit older. Walks into a doctor's office, get undressed. He said, lady, that's the ugliest body I have ever seen. She said, that's what my doctor told me. He said, what are you coming to me for? I want the doctor's opinion. Alan, pay attention to him.
I am.
Guy walks into a doctor, he says, Doc, it hurts when I do this. He says, don't do that.
I think he's brilliant. I think he's at the wrong affair.
I'm not too normal. Leave me alone. Man walks into a doctor's office and says, you're going to live to be 60. He says, I am 60. He says, what'd I tell you? Because everyone knows Milton Berle is married. But what about my marriage? People say, how does it last so long? Here's the secret. My wife and I go to a romantic restaurant twice a week. A little candlelight, a little wine. She goes Tuesdays, I go Fridays.
I go Wednesdays.
Speaking of marriages, a man is kissing a woman, all of a sudden knock on the door. Quick, hide my husband. He says, I forgot the joke.
Henny, don't worry about it. We can all finish it for you.
Anyway, two men meet. One says, you look bad. He said, what's the matter with you? He said, I lost 3 wives in the last 3 months. What happened? First one died from eating poison mushrooms. What happened to your second wife? Died from eating poison mushrooms. What happened to the third one? Fractured skull. How come? She wouldn't eat the pudding.
All right, now cut it out, folks, will you? Even if you hide a little respect. It's not a young man up here, you know.
Alan, I looked high and low for you. I didn't look low enough. Rubber. Little old man got hit on each side. You know, got hit. The cop propped him up against. Wait for the joke.
I know the joke. That's what I'm laughing.
I know I got it from somebody. Anyway, this little old man gets hit by a car, so the cop props him up against the wall. They're waiting for the ambulance. He says to the old man, are you comfortable? He says, I make a nice living.
It's a get-off. It's a get-off.
I just solved a parking problem. I bought a parked car. I could go on talking about Milton Berle all night. I bought my wife a new car. She called up, she said, water in the carburetor. I said, where's the car? She said, in the lake. I could go on talking about Milton all night. But what would that prove, folks? Only that I'm twice as funny as he says, and why should I do that to him on a night like this? Thank you.
Henny Youngman, ladies and gentlemen. the continuity, the meaning, the feeling. You know, every evening, comedy must have its hills and valleys. You've just seen the Grand Canyon. Thank you, Henny. Oh, he's fine. Our next guest is one of the greatest names in the world of sports.
Am I on again?
I'll reiterate. Our next guest is one of the greatest names in the world of sports. The reason for his appearance here tonight is that, well, Milton is the #1 Dodger fan, Los Angeles Dodger fan.
Excuse me, Alan. Which one of these two guys is Jack Benny? This one with the old arm or this one with the old face? I'm sitting here and I can't figure them out.
Well, Dan, on your left is Don Drysdale. Don what?
Say Koufax, it's easier.
The gentleman on your left is Don Drysdale. Not content with being one of baseball's greatest pitchers, he joined Milton Berle's nightclub act in Las Vegas. He wanted to know how it feels to be on the losing side. I took this from Sports Illustrated. He was quoted as saying, working with Berle is like pitching a perfect game. No hits, no runs, no laughs, no money, no music. Ladies and gentlemen, Big Don Drysdale.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight to honor one of our old friends and one of the country's greatest entertainers, Milton Berle. And I understand that Milton started in show business, maybe some 50 years ago, and he's still working. The only thing that I can say is when I was through working and I lost my delivery, I retired. Milton's always been one of the greatest Dodger fans, and when he lived in New York, he'd come out to Ebbets Field every day, and he'd be sitting in his box, and he'd be shouting advice, telling us how to pitch to the hitters, when to steal, when to bunt, when to change pitchers. I think really, as a matter of fact, that's the reason the Dodgers left New York. But our first few seasons in Los Angeles, they were great. We were right up there, we were fighting for the pennant, and then our luck changed. Milton moved to California. But over the years, he's remained one of the most loyal fans, and when the Dodgers are in town, Milton sits in his box behind home plate, and he's there just about every game, and I know one season he was hit in the head a dozen times. And to this day, he still thinks they were wild pitches. But I really don't mind Milton coming to every game or coming out in the field and joining batting practice and things of that sort. It's just a little idiosyncrasy about me that I just kind of like to shower alone. But Milton, you're taking a lot of ribbing tonight, and really I know that I speak for all the Dodgers when I can say that, well, we regard you as one of us. You've chosen comedy for your career, but you'd have been equally successful in baseball. Because I'll tell you one thing, you can still throw it with the best of them. Thank you.
Don Drysdale. He's funnier than Bob Feller.
He's funnier than Youngman.
Who isn't?
You.
From a baggy pants burlesque comedian to an Academy Award winning dramatic actor. That's the best way to describe our next guest. From Who's Got Pockets to Sayonara. How can we ever forget his famous death scene in that great film?
I can't.
A scene that he repeats every time he walks on the stage.
That's why I can't.
Someone who is able to wear both the mask of comedy and tragedy.
Same thing.
Yes, your act. Prove it.
A two-faced guy if I ever saw one. Ladies and gentlemen, the secretary of the Friars, Red Button.
Thank you. I gave already. I want to tell you, I wouldn't have missed this affair for anything. It's nice to get away from show business for a while. Which brings me to the crux, the heart of this dissertation. Why a dinner for Milton Berle? Why for Milton Berle? Some of the greatest people in the history of the world never got a dinner. Tonight, a dinner for Milton Berle. Ponce de Leon, the first man to go to Florida without his wife. Never got a dinner. A dinner for Milton. Smokey the Bear, who once said to Rex Harrison, "I can't understand a word you're saying." Never got a berry. The Duke of Windsor, who once said to Alan King, "No, we're not related." Never got a dinner. Sigmund Freud, who said to his first patient, "Get out of the office, you're sick." Had to eat his couch because nobody gave him a dinner. Saul Schwartz. Who? You don't know him. He was a private in the Continental Army. Saul Schwartz, who said to George Washington, how come everybody goes to Miami for the winter? We got to go to Trenton. Never been to chicken at dinner. I don't know. I threw it in for our people. We must be represented. Mahatma Gandhi's mother, who once said to Mahatma, "Eat a cookie, who's gonna know?" Paul Revere's mother, who said to Paul when he kept yelling, "The British are coming, the British are coming," she said, "Good, let them come. I got cake, I got coffee." Never got a Hollipzer. Julius Caesar, who once said to his brother Sid, "Hey, how come? I'm Italian, you're Jewish." Never got a pizza. Milton Berle, they give a dinner I don't understand. Henry Ford, who once said to Edsel, "Don't put my name on it." Mangiare. Noah's wife, who said to Noah after it had been raining for 40 days and 40 nights, "It's your turn to spread the papers on the floor." Lady Godiva's husband, Myron Godiva, who said to his wife, "Hey, that horse has been back 4 hours. Where you been?" No dinner. This dum-dum gets a din-din. In closing, Milton, I'd like to quote the words of Aaron Schwott. He once said, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with but a single step. Aaron said this to his wife 7 years ago, and she hasn't seen him since. Good night, Milton. See you at the dressmakers.
I thought you were fair.
Red can be seen every night on 6th Avenue walking his Oscar. Our next guest graduated from the Milton Berle School of Comedy. It's like studying choreography with Walter Cronkite. Confident delivery, agile, comedic mind, and Sid Caesar's barber. Made him one of the funniest men ever to step on a stage. He came into town from California to fulfill an engagement, but nobody's got the guts to tell him that they tore the Paramount down. Television's most popular personality and the most talked about comedian of 1943. And still talked about today with great admiration. Ladies and gentlemen, Jan Murray.
Sure glad you told me about the Paramount. I don't make up and getting ready to go there tomorrow morning. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I can't tell you how really thrilled I am to be on this dais tonight honoring Milton Berle. I feel like a cruise director on the Titanic. You know, when Kraft called me and told me that they were giving a big dinner for Milton, I couldn't stay away. I tried. But I couldn't. And personally, I was very shocked and surprised, and no one mentioned that Henny Youngman's anniversary. Because today marks the 25th year Henny has been round-shouldered. So it's a sort of a double celebration here, and I'm surprised we didn't make mention of it here earlier this evening. But Milton, you look wonderful. For all your good friends, I have good news. I know you'll all be thrilled to hear that Milton just had a physical checkup, and he doesn't have ulcers. But he's a carrier. And I think I can safely say that no one on this dais knows Milton Berle as well as I do. He's probably my closest friend in the entire world. An idea how close we are, he even lets me in the same room with him when he's putting on his girdle. So we're pretty friendly. I, too, will never forget how we met. This is part of the functions of these evenings, to tell you how you're connected with, the guest of honor. I was just a kid breaking in a brand new act in a little nightclub. And Milton was in the audience. And after the show, he rushed back to my dressing room all excited. He says, "Kid, you're great. You're sensational. I just loved your act." So he took it. But Milton has always influenced me all my life. It was because of him I uprooted myself from New York City, where I'd lived all my life, and I moved to California. Because for years, Milton, who had been there many years, used to call me up. He said, "Jan, you're my best friend. I want you out here, near me. Hollywood. Gotta be here. This is the glamorous center of the whole world. Constant excitement, fascinating people, one glamorous event after another." So I moved out there. Glamorous, fascinating, exciting Hollywood. It's a lie. A lie. The dullest place I've ever been in my whole life, I swear. Last week alone, 3 people on my block died of dullness. You know the big excitement Milton Berle and I have? Every Tuesday night, we go to Tony Curtis's house to look at his hairnet. Hey, you know what's really ironical? Milton dragged me out to the coast, but he still keeps an apartment here in New York, which I didn't know until I came here this trip, where he spends 11 months of the year. True. That's the truth. And I never knew. It's like a little hidden thing, you know? Because when I came to New York to do the show, Milton said, why stay in a hotel, Jenny? You're nuts. You come to my apartment. You stay with me, you know? So I moved in. He's got a real lovely place right here on the east side. It's decorated beautifully. It's a sort of a French provincial what hit the fan type of decor, you know? But I must say it's quite an experience living with another guy for a change. Now, you must understand, Milton and I are both happily married men. But, you know, two guys living together suddenly, after all these years, it's a whole different world. Like when I'm at home, you know, I get up in the morning, stumble into the kitchen to get some breakfast. Haven't even gotten my heart started yet. Right? The wife immediately starts. Do you love me or don't you love me? If you love me, tell me you love me. I love you, I tell you I love you. If you love me, you're supposed to tell me you love me. Do you or don't you love me? Milton, bless his heart, I told him once I love him. He doesn't bug me anymore. Milton, you know how I really feel about you, and I just want the public to know that as a comedian, you're the greatest. And as a father and husband, you're the greatest. And as a friend, you're the greatest. And as a dramatic actor, you're... Well, 3 out of 4 isn't too bad, Milton. Good night.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Jack Benny, who is between, what, 38, 40?
Easily.
He's been a star longer than he's been alive. I've loved him for 50 of his 39 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jack Benny.
His Excellency Bishop Sheen, fellow friars, Alan, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are paying tribute to a man who is considered to be America's greatest comedian. Considered meaning it hasn't been decided yet. Even by the Supreme Court. Now, in my opinion, Milton Berle is not the greatest comedian in America. He could be maybe one of the 5 great comedians, or 4 or 3, or maybe one of 2 great comedians. And even this is open to conjecture. And the fact that I know what conjecture means gives me a slight edge. Now, I'm not going to do some of the jokes that other comedians do about our guest of honor, like calling him the thief of bad gags, or saying that he steals material from other comics. This is not true. It is not only, I would say, vicious, but slanderous. Now, I have known this kleptomaniac. However, I do not agree with most critics that Milton Berle is one of our top extemporaneous ad-lib artists. I've been on shows with him many, many times. He can't even zipper up a dress by himself. Something I've done with ease. But I'm not here to talk about me. It's an evening honoring Milton on a nationally televised program. And I think that's only right and fitting because you must remember that Milton Berle once had the biggest rating on television. And to think this is what's left of it. 5 comedians, a singer, a bishop, and a baseball player with a bad arm. Incidentally, Don, have you talked to Bishop Sheen about your arm? Maybe he can give you Oral Roberts' phone number. Now, I have to get back to our guest of honor. I've known Milton Berle also intimately for over 40 years. We've been friends since the early days of vaudeville, movies, radio, television. Through all those years, we ran into each other, constantly all over the country. Now that we both live in California, we see each other regularly at Hillcrest Country Club, the Friars Club, and often at the singles weekends at Grocery. So as I said before, I've known Berle for over 40 years. Could anyone else in this room say that? Would anyone else in this room? But enough with the jokes. What I've got to say now comes from the heart. Milton, I want to conclude my tribute, first of all, by congratulating you on this wonderful testimonial. As a performer, and more important, as a man. I know I can speak for everyone here when I say that they came here because they admire and they love you. Now, Milton, you don't have to write those down. They're not jokes. He's so old, he doesn't know the difference. But I would like to say that it is always a pleasure, and I feel highly flattered that I was asked to speak here tonight and to participate in this tribute to a fine comedian and a very good friend. Thank you very, very much.
It's all been said. I'd just like to add just a couple of more words. As a young boy, had I seen Eddie Rickenbacker fly, I'd have wanted to become a pilot. I was much more fortunate. I saw Milton Berle. Ladies and gentlemen, Abbot Emeritus of the Friars, our guest of honor, Mr. Milton Berle.
Good evening, lady. I really don't know what to say. I really don't. Because this has been a very wonderful evening. I'm overwhelmed. This has been one of the greatest nights of my life. Sitting there, I had the feeling that it was like going out with Myra Breckenridge. You know something's going to happen, but you don't know what. But this has been a very great affair. This has been an evening that I'll remember until 10 or 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. I surely want to thank Kraft for this testimony, because where else but in America would the leading manufacturer of cheese pay tribute to a ham? And I personally want to thank Alan King for doing such a fantastic job. Thank you very much. He was really dynamite. Why you never made it, I'll never know. But I'm especially honored this occasion tonight by the presence of His Eminence Bishop Fulton Sheen. I knew you were going to be here tonight, Your Eminence, when I saw your Rolls Royce pull up with the stained glass windows. I would like to thank all our guests. First, I'd like to start with Steve Lawrence, the aged Bobby Breen. Steve put me on with the songs, but you really have a wonderful voice. It's too bad it's in Edie's throat. And Youngman, what can I say about Henny Youngman? I've seen you countless times, but tonight, I have to admit it, I'm ashamed of you. If I may say this, ladies and gentlemen, about Mr. Youngman, Youngman is the only man I know who makes only one television appearance a year and suffers from overexposure. Now, I'd like to thank, while I'm on the subject of comedians, I'd like to thank Don Drysdale. I don't know if you know this, ladies and gentlemen, but recently at Dodger Stadium, they had a Don Drysdale Day, which was the biggest thing that happened in California since Bruce Cabot's wisdom tooth fell out. To my very dear friend Jan Murray, thank you. Thank you. How does it feel to be on television at night? And ladies and gentlemen, there's something I must tell you. Before I thank our next guest, we had two disappointments tonight. Red Skelton couldn't make it, and Red Buttons could. Now, Red, you were fantastic. I really mean that. Ted Mack is going to be very proud of you. You know, Red and I go back a long way, and it's amazing. He looks the same now as he did 20 years ago. Old. And now, last, and certainly least, I'd like to thank John Bunny, the Jack Benny, same age. I'd like to say that Jack has been coming to these Friars roasts for years. In fact, Jack was at the very first one when they roasted Joan of Arc. I mean, everybody makes fun of, Benny, how old he is. Why? Just because he keeps getting letters from the old age home marked urgent? People make fun about his love life, not me. What's past is past. And now I'd like to inject a serious note, like Youngman did earlier. I'd like to quote a line from a very famous song. People who need people are the luckiest people in the world. Well, I am not ashamed to admit that I'm the kind of a guy who needs people. And when people like you, my fellow Friars, gather around a table to toss a few gentle barbs and a few juicy accolades my way, not only have you honored me with your presence here, but you've gifted me with something a comedian treasures dearly, your sense of humor. And to you, people out there, please accept my humble thanks for this, because without you out there, I would have never made it up here. So all I can say is the fact that I need you all makes me one of the luckiest people in the world. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Music Hall has been brought to you by Kraft. Kraft for good food and good food ideas. Kraft, a division of Kraftco Corporation. To get tonight's recipes free, write Kraft October TV recipes. Box 1718, Chicago 60690. A postcard will do. This is Ed Burley.